All right. Okay. What is the time now? All right. I would like to us to just a little bit go back to what we did. The section we started was the section to do with typography. So there was this part, text as communication, that we did last time, and to just be sure to see what we did, let me just a little bit go through in here. This was something we did last time. No, that one, not this one. This, I know we might go back to it. It's the slides are like, yeah. So let me see. Elements of type. What is type? Right. Okay. But in the slide I'm going to share, I have separated the history. I will put it separately. There was a little bit of history of this, whereby it talks about the Gutenberg, the creation of type. Yeah, because what I said, where it all came from, this idea of type, it came from the physical type, metallic objects, right? So this, I think I'll go back to it later on, but it came from the metallic objects that were used before the advent of the internet. Now, the same idea, all these concepts, like the measurements, alignments, were studied during that time. But now, after the advent of the computer, things changed. We're going to look into some other concept we look into briefly last time, but we can compare them with what is happening with the computer world. So the anatomy of type, we studied this last time, whereby there is the anatomy of type itself, then talking about font features, then type measurement, then text alignment. This one, the last part is also, we're going to look into it, but somehow it feels like a separate area. But these are the areas under the anatomy of type. And we started with, to just briefly to talk about, when we say anatomy of type, what are we talking about? Say that it's just a matter of to try to dissect what type is. And when I say type, we are talking about the characters. These are the characters that we see as the A, B, C, D, E on the computer, right? As I said before, these actual image characters that we can see in the form of uh, uh, let's say these are vector, right? It forms of vector characters. It started from, as I say, the actual type, physical type, which were used by Gutenberg. He created the metal machines, and now each character like that one were like solid separate, like the way you see these scales. When you say we want to buy 1 kg, then you see, or let me just say the way these keyboards are like. So you see characters, and if you want A, you have to go and buy A somewhere as a metal. So they have to measure it up down that, oh, this is the character. So those are where it came from, like the idea. So as a human being, we have got so many parts. If you say the anatomy of a human body, right? The anatomy of a human body has got the head, has got the neck, shoulder, arms, tail, or if you something like that. Now, if you talk about anatomy of type, it's the same thing as that one, whereby the characteristics that are going to distinguish each type, right? Because we've got so many of them, right? So all those elements that are going to make them different are what we are referred to when we talk about the characteristic anatomy. And we talked about um, elements like say here, I mean, let's just say height, talking about the shape, the weight, the what is called the and there's other elements that we're going to see here. The upper or the lower, horizontal and diagonal stroke. So it's all to do with these characters. We remember I talked about this particular type to be of two of makeup. We talk about serifs and sans serifs. So these are sans serifs. So the serifs we say they are like the strokes that we see all the characters. If you see these characters, they don't have strokes. When you talk about strokes, are those lines that are like protruding. So you don't have any protruding lines from the characters. They're just like flat element, characters. So if you're talking about the leg, for this one for sure, we would say it doesn't have a leg, right? But if you're having the element that is protruding downwards, that would be a leg. But we will appreciate when we compare all the actual type. I think we talked about it last time. So we have got the ascender, and the opposite of the ascender is a descender, right? And when you talk about the ascender, we're going to also point to it again. But what you say, if you have got a character like an edge, if you take these characters, you could not say that you can see that there are lines, like there is a line here. All these many characters are in here. Now you have that edge with a certain line going upward. That one is an ascender, right? It's going somewhere upward, right? So if you can see have a similar character like that P, instead of having this going upward, P there's something going downwards. That's a descender. So it's like the same English, ascend going up, descend is going down. So those protrusion, the strokes that are on the character that goes up like a line that's an ascender, down, descender. So depending on the character, these ascenders and descenders, they are different. And they are also there for different purposes. Because what we see, the way that we are seeing this particular type of typeface, I chose this one for a reason, right? So if you have a character, or maybe or you have got characteristics of your type, they are going to make that type to have a certain function, right? Or they are also going to make that particular type not to have a function. Because some elements could make it unreadable, right? Because the idea is if you are putting type, you want someone to read what you are writing, right? So if you have got a font, a different typeface that is difficult to read, right? It means if you are aiming to communicate, your main aim is trying to communicate a certain message to some people. You are going to abandon that particular one, right? But if some, as I said, that there are some other elements will make that character look artistic, right? So you might need a font for artistic purposes. For example, I gave an example that you want a font that you could use on the front of the maybe an album cover. So you don't want could just in a certain fancy way. You character maybe just 3 letters, but they should look in a certain artistic way, right? So you're going to find out that we have some other typefaces with artistic characters so that we will serve that particular purpose of being artistic and the like. So you have elements like to do with the advertisement, right? You also have even in the movies. I think if you are observant, try to look to watch the movies when a film starts, right? There are specific typefaces that will come, and nowadays they have even gone further. I've seen that even if you can have a film they're talking about 1917, you even see the character that will come in that beginning of the movie will also look like their own characters, right? As if they are, not ordinary ones. They will have fonts that will fit that purpose, right? So that's just so we have got all these elements. As I said, that you have the sender, the part of the character, like you talk about G, J, P, Y, that descends below the baseline. So the baseline, if you see all these characters, they appear like they are sitting on a certain base, right? Like this line, why is it floating? Like if you draw a line, straight line here, it will go exactly where all these characters in this line are sitting, right? So where they are sitting, like if you can draw a line, this line is what is called a baseline, right? This line, their baseline is here. This line, their baseline is here. So what you are talking about, like the line like this one, the baseline is not where this G is ending. It's where these characters are ending here. So this one is going downward. So this is a descender below the baseline, right? So let me see here. If you go, let's just compare with the ascender. I want to see the way they have described. Okay. I said that the part of the lower, of lowercase, I think because we are talking about lowercase characters, Okay, so let's say, when we say lowercase characters, capital letters like this are uppercase characters, right? So in these uppercase characters, you can't have a descender, you can't have an ascender. Why? Because a space that is occupying, let's say, I want to see where I can give you an example, a very good example. Maybe let's see this one. I want to see, do we have, yeah. Oh, let me forget to not talk about much and descender, but let's talk about the ascender. If we talk about this line here, it's the upper line. Now, from here to here is where the ascender is sitting, right? So, if we're gonna have maybe a character, if it's like H, this one. If an H like this one, it means the whole H is starting from the bottom and end up here. But if it can be a lowercase, meaning a small letter H, right? It means it will have a stroke on one side. It will have an H whereby we will go like this one. So the ascender will be that line that is going upward. While if you have the H like this, It's the whole two lines. It's like the whole H is starting from the top. So you can't say that those two lines are centers. No. But I said that should be that line, one line. That is like on one side, and if the descendants are downside again. So usually when we're talking about ascendants and descendants, we usually refer to the lowercase letters, right? As opposed to uppercase letters. That's what we're talking about. So, case, you will appreciate those. What is another important? Okay. I think the best way now. Let's go to the actual. Let's show last time this one. Some you can just see and you without even this explanation, but you will just see the image and you know what are, like, as you can see, the x height is now that height, and the x height is to do with the lowercase letters, because these letters are lowercase letters. Let me say small letters, not the capital letters, right? Now it is measuring, you can even just see from the baseline to a midline, right? A midline is here. Like an ascender will start from the midline to the cap line, you see? So where the ascender is landing is where is what is called a cap line, or also is called ascender line, right? So you see where these lines are. And the baseline, as I say, is now there. And the below the baseline, you have got a descender, that line, that stroke, and the spaces, as you can see there, the space that are inside that particular those letters, between the letters, the counter space, and the, see here, what else? Yeah, this is just few elements that are important on this, that we can appreciate. Let's see what else. Okay, these other characters that also are trying to show the same parts of the letter. So now you see there is a counter, it's a space now, it's a space inside this character, but it's not enclosed, right? It's a counter space. The space now that is enclosed is inside the character, but it's enclosed. That is what is called a ball. If you see the ball there, that one is just enclosed. And you see this one. Let's see how I wanted to see how they define how they define a bar, because of you see here. Okay, so a bar is the horizontal stroke in the characters such as A, H, R, E. So when you say horizontal stroke, right? What are we talking about? Right? Let's just go here. Right. Here. So horizontal stroke, it means that line that has gone is A, right? That line that is going across to make it A. That's a bar, right? And you see an E, you see there, when you see this G, then you see something. So you can even literally think about an E. And the arm, as you can see up there, you see the way it has gone, as if as an arm now is on the capital, right? Capital. Right. So I think these are just some of the parts. Let's also see here. And this is now a height on the H cap height, the height of the capital letter here. And then this is more or less like now you're trying to dissect critically these characters. The G, that shape, that is a little bit like a little bit a corner, that corner over there from the top part. It's a link. Why is it called a link? Because this round element down there is called a loop, right? It's literally as if there's a loop. You know, you want to say loop, it's going around the same thing. So this down part is a loop. So link is linking the loop and the upper part of it. That's why I say loop. Now, these baseline lines, strokes, they are the serifs now. I think we talked about serifs at that time. So if you have got characters without these baselines, the line that is going like across from the top, if you don't have that one like the other character, well, like the characters like that one, that's why we would say sans serifs. Sans serifs is without serifs, right? So all the, no wonder we say broadly, these font characters are either going to fall under serifs, which means they'll be having these strokes, right? Or sans serifs, they will be having without the strokes. So not that's all the difference. They will be falling under that, and they might also fall or have different so many elements or characteristics. Yeah, because having a stroke, a serif is just one characteristic, which can differentiate, for example, which is we would say maybe between Butoguda and Zungu, right? So that could be a broader terms, Buto with Butoguda with Zungu. But now, if you take the example, like the faces, so those are other characters. But generally, we will say or let's say Zimbabwe, they are too broad, but these are not the only ones. Everyone will be falling either on the woman or a man, but now each one is spadera, at least their own characteristics now, right? And if we go down, we'll talk about them maybe according to tribe, according to their hands, and all those things. So it's exactly what we talk about here, that they might fall into serifs or sans serifs, but at the same time, they are also going to be having other features, right? So features, that's why we say, if you talk about font, you're going to have what is called like a font family, like a family. So in each family, there are going to be differences. The same font can have so many elements that will make it different. It can be the same character like this one, bold, the same character like this one, not maybe italics, the same character like this one, maybe capital, the same one, maybe small, lowercase. So you have, but even if it's lowercase, even if it's bold, even if it's not bold, you can tell that this is Roman, new Romans something, by the many features. So it will depend on the way you want to use it. And also we are going to also appreciate that later on we are going to talk about how you are going, how you measure space, because space is important. These characters, they differ. Maybe sometimes you have seen when you select a certain font, the characters are very far apart. So we have got some other characters that are deliberately made to be far apart for some reasons, right? So some they are compressed. One page you put in a half page. Those are compressed for some reasons. Maybe you don't have much space. You like all the characters to fit in a certain space, so you can choose a character that is compressed. So we'll see those elements. Let's see what else. So these are other elements again. The good thing of most of these elements, they imitate either parts of a human body or maybe a tree, right? Even the names. For example, see this one, the S, spine. You can see spine normally it's not a straight thing. What it says human spine is from the neck going inside. So as you can see, that the shape, a bent part from the S is a spine. Then we have got a spur, that protruding element, as if the G was going outside like this. Not just a small element. They say that is a spur, and this line between a serif and the top, another serif at the top, is a stem. And you see, this is curvature of a C, like as if it's now going to make a circle. That one is a stress. And then here is a stroke because you see it's a little bit like a slanting. This line, a swash. I know some of this we just need to know them. We might not have to memorize them, but at least just have an idea what they are, because maybe you never know. Sometimes we might need to know. So X height, I think I already talked about it. That is this height from the bottom to the top of. We talked about like that one. We say the cap line and the baseline of lowercase letters, right? So a tail, as I think you even see, it really looking like a tail. That caved part of the Q. Terminal is now, that is the one that is looking like a hook, right? Like a little bit like a hook from this lowercase t. All right, so I think these are some of them. Let's see. Okay, so here was emphasizing on the height, whereby what is this doing? Just because I touched it. Sometimes it's like to do that. Remember, in the past I failed to use this room because it was having some problems with this, but okay. Is it somewhere to do with this side? Nothing, you know. Okay, let me just reopen it again and see if it's going to do something. Okay, maybe that's what it wanted. Yeah. Okay. Is this the one? Nah. This is not the one. This is the one. Okay. So they were here. So X height, as I already said, that is a height of lowercase. Height of lowercase, say X is called the X height, right? So lowercase x, right? And interfaces. So usually, no wonder, because sometimes it when they just say height, you say is that measurement of from the baseline to upward. But this one, because it's X height, right? No wonder it's specific for X, right? Right? And I want to say this is a height. In the normal X's, it will be a certain height. But when you talk about lowercase, that's where the differences are. Most of these characters, they have got different X heights. Some, as you can see here, you can see this X is a little bit smaller than that one. That one is smaller than this one, right? So when you switch different typefaces, you discover that their X heights are different, right? The issue is, you can wonder, why are we concerned with the differences in height? All what we are trying to observe here is the issue of what is called readability, right? Readability of faults is now, I mean, how readable a fault is. I already gave an example that you can have your text, you click a fault in like, was going to see where they get good. I think this fault is not looking good. It means the readability of that fault is not good, right? So faults that have got good readability, whereby if you take that fault, people can easily read what is written. It means there are faults that have good readability. So sometimes there are specific characters whereby if you check different characters of maybe there's for small height, whatever, but even we're going to talk about spacing, they might be either readable or probably have problems in terms of readability. So that's why we make sure that we see also concentrate on that. These you can see that these are different three different typefaces, right? We have got Time Roman, that's the first one. Then we have got Helvetica. Then the other one was Brush Script, right? As we talk about later when we talk about the script font, is the one that is much more artistic. And the counter space, we talked about it already last time again, that the space that you have but I know this one is including I'm okay, so I mean it's just including all the spaces here, but it's all to do with this inside space. And the differences of these, if you check about different, I mean the different characters, they'll be having different spaces that are kept inside, and it will make it to be a good font according to your purpose or not. Let's just continue here. This was just like another, it's the same thing that we talked about, just in another, using another text. Right, and the X height is a vertical height of lowercase types, and the higher the X height of a type, the lesser the ascender or the descender becomes visible, and vice versa. So this is also an element, because if you have got you have a X height that is small, what it means is the ascender will be much more prevalent. You can see the ascender that, oh, there's a line that's going upwards. If the X height is small, it's big, I mean, you have the very small ascender. Even the impact on the visibility of the descender will be affected, right? Because you are going to be comparing with how the upper part is looking like. And also at the same time, as you can see, say the exercise will consume more background space, and it may attract for use. May be attractive for use by printers, because if you have like the way these lines are, that white line that is behind is like a background. So if you are going to be having a lot of ascenders or descenders, they are going to be eating into that background, right? So that will be the impact. So if you choose another typeface, you discover maybe they don't have a lot of visible ascenders because of the inside space. Some will be much more visible, right? Okay. Let's just go quickly. Okay. Characters with large X height seems to be appropriate for newspapers, right? Because they have a big body and the smaller ascenders. So if you have seen newspapers, this is for people who are into newspaper production, right? These elements we are talking about, they are the ones they look for in play. I think you have seen before, whereby if they have these other columns, it will start with a character, and that character will go over 3 lines, right? At the beginning, right? or unusual. I think if you check your newspaper, you discover that they don't usually use sans serifs, right? They will prefer using sans serifs, because of those strokes. The way they look. Why are we talking about that? The serifs and sans serifs, they helps in readability, because some other characters, if you don't have serifs, you can confuse one character to another, right? But those serifs, they help for you to know that, for example, I can say the way we have like the eye of this one, that small eye, you know it because there's a dot, isn't it? But if we can put the capital I of that word, it will look like a word, right? So you'll be sometimes looking at it and think about, is this a word or is it a capital I? If it's another font, but if it has got serifs, you are clearly going to see that this is, because of the serifs, this is an I, because it will have the top part line, the bottom line. So you know it's not a word, it's an I. So because of that, it's helping in readability. People, a reader would not get confused to say, okay, maybe with is this an I or a word, right? So I think that's why you can see, why you see newspapers, they usually use serifs, right? Types, as opposed to sans serif types. Magazine, because it's just for fancy. Most of the magazines, they use sans serifs, right? Because they don't care about, they wanted to make it fun. They can even take this magazine of mine. If I open it, you even see the fonts are sans serifs, right? Without serifs, like this, right? Because it's a magazine. But if you can just take a newspaper and check, you discover you'll be having the serifs, right? So I think in that said, you can also see that these specific typefaces and the characters, they are used for specific occasion, for specific purposes. You don't just decide to say, okay, let me take maybe a particular form, a typeface. So, like for newspapers here, you have got examples of some other fonts which are friendly for the newspaper, essentially old styles, Cabria, there as you can see, Utopia, and all other type fonts you are seeing here. So to say the X side again, it creates more ample white space, which means better legibility, right? Which is the readability, right? So what it means is when you are using the X heights, if you are leaving the X heights, if let me say the X size is smaller, there's going to be a lot of space remaining from the background, which will make that particular text easily read, as opposed to covering almost every part. So, I mean, that's just as an example. We already talked about also this, the ascender, which is also, say, okay, they say ascender here, they are saying a lobe, although we specifically talk about that lobe, that's different. So in here, this one could be, I think, let's not keep that one. I think I need to fix this one. I know it's in some other cases that they call it that one, but now, for the sake of confusion, let's ignore the loop here. Just think about the ascender, right? So, the top part of the vertical stem, right? And we talked about that stem before, of some lowercase letters, such as we talk about B, H, D. So it's all about the lowercase letters. So that's the vertical stem that is going upwards. That's the ascender we're to be talking about. That's what I'm saying. Okay, that's what I'm saying here. Ignore the loop here. You use it all that budget. It is said that forget about the loop. I know this was another book. Now you know difference by references. So we might be referring with another one. Now you can get confusion. That loop it makes sense. It's an actual loop. This ascender with the loop cannot make sense. So I think I was supposed to fix that one. And you can just get confused. So for now, just take it as it's a vertical stem, right? Not the loop. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. The good thing is, if you are able to notice, I think here is not making sense. That's a good thing about it. It means you are following. Because that's the most important. Because if I just say, you just memorize, that's bad. The good thing, as I'm saying, whatever I can give you, you should be able to query it. For example, this one, I put it there, but I didn't notice that that's what this person wrote, because I was taking it from somewhere. Now I did it cross-check. So here, since we together saw where the loop is, that's why here it cannot make sense to say the ascender is a loop. Yeah, because in no way it makes sense to be a loop, because the loop is supposed to go round, right? So the ascender is just going up. That's why I say this part is just the ascender. We're talking about, we say this is a stem. If we have lowercase letters, the vertical stem, vertical is going upwards. So the vertical stem of some lowercase letters such as B, H, D, and others like that, that are the ascender we are talking about. And the height of the ascender is one of the features that is used in identifying characteristics of many typefaces, right? You know them by the way the ascender is going. Some of them have the ascender that is very long, longer than the others, the way they look. And okay. Okay, so say here they have got some other ascenders. There are like in some cases where the ascenders of sometimes they will touch the descendants of others above. If that's too long, you're going to have the descent like the way this one is. You might discover that because of the type, you discover some ascenders are touching the descendants because the descendants of the top line are going downwards. Now the ascendants of the bottom line are going upwards. Some they will touch, which means that according to that character, they are longer descendants and ascendants. Depending, because the characters will have the same similar features, right? As I'm saying, if it's going to be a family of 40 whereby the ascendants are long, all characters from A, B, C, D to X, they will be having long ascendants. If the descendants are long, all characters again, they will have the same. So that's what happens. Yeah, the thing, the easiest thing will be if you see there are so many faults. Let's see here. Let me see if they talk. There's again. Okay. This is an example, right? But I will try to take what you're talking about. Where you want to see the actual example where they will touch. Okay, let me see. Unfortunately, I didn't look for that example, but I will. I mean, easiest thing I'm saying you could see for you to test it. Just have a passage. Take a passage, put it in the Word document, highlight it, and go where there are faults. There was a consider my fault search. Who's one has a sit a bit much? So you see some, and if you see some, they could touch. According to, I don't know, there are so many types. I can't know which type, but once you are changing, you know how you can do it. You have this arrow, the down arrow. When you highlight, ugama sita mamafota jap 1, 2, 3 going down ima sita, but text jama sita. So you'll be seeing kuti yes it is as going downwards. But there are specific faults, some of them. They are, for example, as I told you, Palma faults and I remember the script and falling under script. I said this faults that are falling under script, they were imitating the actual handwriting you written by a pen, somebody zima kanga za slanting George zima zonga katika kwa zabe George. I think some of the people on my certificate and I got my labels of military kati kuti ulivi my certificates. I think some you have seen some certificate they don't use the like this aba sikike zima leta so zukulia zina zake zije zikazaji kwa za George so but time can manage they are easily good if they can be together even when they can detach somewhere easily because of the way they are make up. So but I'm saying it's not a good but there are some and nowadays what's happening, what we have like these characters, these are, as I say, we're having typefaces. There are still new typefaces being created right now, right? There's at home about even if you check online, people they sell fonts. Like actually, and I was checking about my other fonts. Some of them are even expensive. Like I was checking again with somebody who created. He was saying one character was like that one, $80, one, right? And the amagulisa so and amenaje okay obaga purchase now that's where this type coming from amenaje they were modeled before the computer and not physical to teach and when we are going to talk about the computer we'll be talking about the spacing we'll talk about how sometimes my characters they are so you can need it to reduce space. Now it's only possible because of the computer. In the past, it was not possible because it says as you are talking about type, you physical. Printing. So if you wanted to kujaza space, then so it was something like that. But the whole idea of this type we are talking about, starting from that this Gutenberg, he created the type printing press was used to print newspapers, not using a computer, right? It was using some machines. I think computer was also at that time. Before we have these laser printers, right? They are the actual physical types. Zokuduka bino utawuzijambula type chibochi A chibochi kuchijambula ngwachisiya pena baki. HB ukafuna kuseta bya you have to machine. I think it's similar to the typewriter zagalezich. You see them, Zokuti bugababa kabya zima letters machine ubeda kete message. So it was like something like that, but now you are using them to print. And so I was surprised. I said, no, when you see if you see you are with document, you can go into the fonts. The members don't know all these typefaces. Well, now you see them, but now when you see my graphic designers, you see my graphics and even a newer shit, whereby when you look on the web document, you don't find those fonts. I search them, I don't find them. So what they do, I mean now at Microsoft. Now you can buy my other typefaces. There are so many of them out there. So some they could be I bet unaenda utawaka dala kuti zitalika kwa bidadala because you ever want it for another reason. When you follow you package na jage you buy. I remember I thought go maybe it's a little bit cheaper, but I said no. I checked. I'm telling you $180 one. It was something like I think it was something about 700 and something, 750, the whole set, right? Which is close to $1 million, like close to it. Well, that's dollars, So just to buy type, which is the type fonts, So there are so many different types of them. So in terms of whether they are touching, whether they're not touching, doesn't matter. It just depends on the type of font, right? But what matters is parts of the fonts or typefaces, they are the same. They are the same parts we are talking about. It will just differ. And again, the longer, but they are the same types. And it will depend on the purpose that you want to use them for. And we'll talk about the descender here. If you have a long descender and tall ascender in a text, cloudiness also occurs, and when you need to correct the situation and adjust the lead. So we're going to talk about spacing now, because you can have these characters. Some of them, how you are going to fix it, you say maybe they are clouded, you want them to be not clouded, or maybe they are not clouded, you want them to be clouded. There are ways, it's all about space, right? They are looking like this because there are specific spaces that you see. If you remove some other spaces here, they might look maybe very thick, very close enough. So that's how you collect some of these to say that okay, it's because it's to do with the readability. As I'm saying, you have got a font like this, you feel like it's not readable. Then you can try to think about the space either to switch to decide some you have got some other characters whereby you put them, they were just capital letters. Then you can decide, okay, let me take a font type that is having a lowercase letters and the uppercase letters for the sake of readability. Some, according to what you can need, okay, Algebraic style for font that maybe we need to be using looking good in lowercase, capital letters, only uppercase letters, maybe. So it will depend on what you are looking for. I think some of the things we talked about already says, but you got to see, okay, so this is the ball, this is the enclosed portion. Okay, I think it will go back to this. Serifs, we talked about it. I don't want to spend much of time here, or maybe let's see the advantage here. Okay. Okay, but let me just say the serifs, as I say, you see those I mean, that line that seems to be like the from the stem, then it's like breaking. That's a serif. Without that, that's a sans serif. So if you have all characters that are like this without the serif and that top part, they are all falling under sans serifs, right? So these are just some of the examples of the sans serifs. And the as I already said that, I said that most, if you're thinking about the use of the serif and the sans serifs, if you are looking for a page that is to be easily readable, a reader-friendly page, then use serifs, right? Because it's easy to read, because people don't want to be confusing the characters, right? So that's maybe how you can try to differentiate the two. Okay, that's what we see later. And let's see. That said that when you look at the page or a book, there are going to be some other features that you know that will help you identify that publication, right? If you have the Nation, if you see or Daily Times, if you see their title or name of the newspaper, title of the newspaper, right, which is called the what do we call nameplate? Okay, that's the name of the paper, nameplate. You see, they will not just choose an ordinary font or typeface usually. They have a specific font, right, or typeface or feature, or I mean the typeface or the font that have the certain kind of features that are a little bit different from others, right? So because of that, you are able to see just the font, and you know this is the Daily Times. So if you're talking about that, I say we think about the features, and you separate them in between the element of readability or how the features, those features are helping to make that particular font easily read, to be read, right? And some could just be not, it's a font on itself. It could be just the size, right? That it has got larger fonts, right? So some you find a newspaper whereby maybe the label plate is a little bit smaller fonts, while some it's a very large font. So it could be the font, or its size, it could be the space that is between the letters, right? So that is has got spaces that are a little bit more space, or whether the text is in bold thickness of the, because when you talk about thickness, it's now when you talk about the weight. It's like even in the human beings, when you say someone is thick, do we talk about someone who is skinny? When you say thick, you put it somebody who has got a lot of weight, isn't it? So thick letters again, if you have got a thing like a board like this, which is board, that's a heavy text. If it's not board, they will say, okay. So you have some other font that are heavy by nature. You don't have to make them board. They are already the board. It's a type of I mean, the way they are. So I think we will observe that. And in all these features that we're going to be talking about the font, there are some what are called fixed pitch fonts, right? These is like it's now. I think we're going to be relating with the spaces, because when as a designer, you are going to be dealing with spaces when you are using characters like this, right? So sometimes you are going to be dealing with spaces as a whole. That okay, I want all these letters to be having equal spaces between each letter, or even a character and a character should have a equal space in between, and a word and a word should also have equal space in between. Sometimes you could just be concerned with maybe only in few places, that maybe there are a few words that have got the spaces that you want to be eliminating them, right? Now we have got these fonts whereby they are equally spaced together, all of them, right? Like if you have a font which is, say, the fixed pitch, right? Font, or sometimes the same word of font here, has the characters that are occupying the same amount of horizontal space, and it has an angular or block serifs, and usually you're talking about that is the space is like have got they're occupying equal distances, right? And these ones, how do you know these ones? If we go usually to where we write the document, you find some of them, they are like falling under this fixed pitch font, whereby when you apply them, you even see equal spaces, but usually most of them are different. But if you have ever seen someone who does coding, I think you yourself maybe have seen it before. If you have ever opened a notepad, you have ever opened a notepad and try to type. Have you ever seen a notepad? If you have ever done even HTML, people who does HTML or coding, they will give commands using a notepad. They will go to a website called source, then they open. So on the notepad, you don't see usually these different fonts. They will just have characters that looks the same. Because what you are doing, when you send a message into a notepad, what the receivers will see is not what the characters you are pressing. In a notepad, as a design, as a web designer, if you say you want the text to be new Robert's numeral, when you go to the source, you write. You don't take new Roberts. You write. You put a bracket. You like in the bracket. Then you write a bit of font equals to new Roman numeral. You just write. So that command will make it. When somebody seeing on the website, will see new Roman's numeral. So it doesn't matter what you font ya new Roman's numeral. That's why in that space where people are using coding, they will need this type of font. And in coding, any minimal mistake, a certain character was supposed to be touching a character. That's why you don't have space. But space, when you would say apply, it's not to be applied, but website message with so precise, okay, because when you are doing a command, usually you don't have spaces. So if you have got a typeface, imene kukunamiza ngati kuti palibe space, you can't work. So as I've just said that you usually see that people who are doing coding or coders who are going to be using this type of type. And let's see if you have got any other example of this one. Yeah, we have. We have got this. You can have it. I think if you go to your Microsoft Word, there's this typeface called Carrier 12 page. You have seen it before.